Good afternoon, traders. It is Wednesday, October 6th, 2021, 4:58 p.m. Sri Lanka time. Now, I wanted to have a follow-up video. I created a video earlier with GBP JPY and GBP AUD. I broke those pairs down and updated you all on my GJ longs that I was currently in the money in at the time. Now, what had happened was GJ rallied towards the upside, and then it found a short period of resistance or profit taking exactly at 152. If you guys see right there in that area at 152, price then consolidated for a few hours, and then it started to fall towards the downside about 100 pips. So that's just a pullback, and it is healthy when you are trading uptrends. That's why I had exclaimed that I took partial profit yesterday when I got into the trade. I took partial profit around 151.5 because I knew that price was going to come back for a retest of that area that just got broken. Now, it was either going to bounce from 151.5 and continue towards the upside, or it was going to break under 151.5 and continue on down towards 151 to retest. And that's exactly what it's doing, is retesting 151 support to see if it holds. Now, another reason why I exited instead of holding through this is because when we go on the intraday time frame, what we're going to see is that price not only just broke through those psychological barriers, but it's enough of a bear trend to disrupt the bull moves of the week. So in order to really see a continuation to the upside that we see on the 4-hour and higher, we must consolidate first, and we must build a bias to get out of this current down move that just happened. So these happen all the time. I mean, it happens weekly on most pairs. I call this the manipulation of the week. It swoops down, finds the area of support, which is, if you look to the left, was built on the 4th and 5th of October. And now it's going to consolidate in this area for the next day or two. And what do we have coming up? We have Friday coming up. So if price is consolidating in this area for the next 24 or so hours, I mean, Thursday's coming up. I apologize for that. Then we only have about 24 hours before we can either go back up towards the upside and retest 152 resistance and then continue on up for the week. But more than likely, I believe price is just going to consolidate and then go up and then retest 152 to end the week. It could break and breach and create a higher move towards the upside, which I still have my TP around 152.5, but that's about 130 pips away. So we just have to wait with the bias build. I will not be re-entering this trade until I see at least, I want to see at least the closer above 152, or if there's enough time that passes by showing that the momentum of this down wave dried up, then I'd be looking for some sort of up wave towards the upside that will invalidate this downtrend. But as of right now, it is bearish with a bullish bias, so just let that resonate. I want to go on to the next pair so I don't waste 24 hours or maybe even longer than that waiting on a pair to form its hypothesis. I'd rather just go to the next pair. So I'm on Eurgbp. I had exclaimed that this was going to be on a downtrend as soon as the lows that it's currently testing, 0.850, gets broken. Price actually did break those lows after testing it several times. So if we can go back a couple of days, look on the 4-hour macro view, we can see that price was already tumbling down. And my overall bias for this pair is bearish. It always has been. But we were caught up in what I call a bull trap for a couple of weeks. As you guys can see, the middle and end of September was bullish. It went on a slight manipulation run, knocking out all of the seller stops back in August. And we look in the daily time frame, we could actually see that there are sellers in August, there are sellers in July. It respected the July sellers. So that was pretty pretty ironic. It came right near the highs of July. So if you had sales in July and you were long term, well, you got very lucky. But if you had sales in August and you were long term, well, that's retail stops right there, and it was pretty obvious for us to see as manipulators in the market. We're able to see there's a cluster of stops right above, and that's not the smart area because with a group, you're also going to get wiped out. So that's exactly what happened, and it's pretty common to see some sort of pullback after a break. So late September, we saw a break towards the downside. And of course, like I said, that is a support zone area right around anywhere down below here. To be honest, anywhere below this break could potentially be a support. So I wasn't even interested in that trade back in August. But as we can see, it broke towards the downside, found support, and created a bull run, which was a massive candle. It was one of these days. It was a massive 100-pip candle, Maribozu, that now we can see it failed. What happens after a failed Maribozu? Well, it's a pretty obvious bear rally towards the downside because it's a Maribozu candle, which represents strength in the markets, and if it represents bull strength, and then it was followed by a bearish evening star that was confirmed by two drives to the downside, then we clearly are now in a bear market resumption. These are the best opportunities to get in the trade when your macro bias lines up with the micro bias, because then you have a clear run and nothing could really stop the train coming. So going into the intraday perspective, as expected, after a break to the downside, we do see retest. It's currently retesting that resistance. So this is a perfect time for me to set up because we are getting into the U.S. session. I want to see how I'm doing on time. Great. I want to keep this video under 10 minutes if I can, so you guys can go back and be able to follow up with me. So at this moment, we are currently seeing disruption of that of that cluster that was formed yesterday, and along with a bull trap spike to the high, and now it created this new down wave. If we look at the intra-session time frame, I like to look at the 5-minute while I'm in the session to see more detail, but I don't really use the 5-minute for anything else. We can see A to B, B to C, C to D, Elliott wave tested, and I mean it could go anywhere up here, but then there was a confirmation of this wave, A to B, B to C, C to D. C was very weak, so it had a high probability of a pullback breaching that retail stops right there. So at the moment, we're waiting for a replication of what happened on the larger time frame, which is a Maribozu failure and a close down below towards the downside. That's where we're going to have our entry. So let's just mark that up. And I'm doing lighter lots because I want to try something out with this account that I'm using right now. All right, so a 0.30, about 2 or 3 pips below the low. I don't like to get it too close because spreads and false moves can happen. So about that low, what I'm going to do is put a stop loss. I could do it above this high, which would give me about a 15-pip stop. But this is a 5-minute chart, and I want to do the whole body of it just because it's not only just a 5-minute chart, but that's also the high of the day, as we can see. Asia highs, and then it went to London, and then all of a sudden the price dropped down. So I would like to keep that pair, keep stop loss right above here, 3 to 5 pips above the high, 0.85, 317 will be the stop loss. All right, so now we have our stop in place. Very, very easy, simple stop loss. About $150 US loss, 36 pips away. Perfect. So now we're going to look for the profit target, seeing that this pair moves about 45 pips in a day on the ATR. When I do go into the daily range, I can see just about how many pips it's moved from the high to current price. And it's about 30 pips. So by the time it reaches my zone, it'll be about 30 pips from the high. So that will give me about another 15 pips of clear move, and it could go down farther. That's just an average. But when we do look about 15 to 20 pips below that low, we do see a potential zone where price could have bounced off of. But to me, I do see that the momentum coming down has enough bearish drives to actually breach that zone and continue to the downside. So when we look at the weekly, I'm actually going to take my profit down below. My profit target is actually going to be set for around 0.83289, and I am just relying on momentum to build up. So what did I say? 0.83100, and then I'll move it up. All right, so we have about 160 pip profit target, and the stop loss is only about 36 pips. So you got what is about a 5-to-1 reward to risk ratio. That's an amazing trade setup, and I do suspect potential profit points along the way. If I am looking at it, I mean, on the daily, it's a very, very obvious drive to the downside. So I mean, I don't really want to, but there's not really any other area of profit taking after this. So if this is a good trade, this is just a good trade, and I'm trading with lighter lots because I'm actually training myself on day trading. You see, when I do take heavier lots, I tend to actually become a little bit more euphoric than I need to be. And so trading with these smaller lot sizes just for this temporary time being will reinforce my discipline and my mind, and I won't be as euphoric, and I'll stick to the plan and continue to be able to trade and navigate in other pairs as well. So this was Eurgbp for you all. We already know what would happen if it does go towards the upside, but let me just go over that briefly in case worst case scenario does happen and price does go against us in the bias. So if this does happen and price does go up towards the upside, I do see this area of resistance being broken. That's a very weak area. Nothing is going to really, there's no reason to really put a stop loss above there. But I do see it tapering around here and potentially going up towards 0.85762, which is an area. So between this 20 pip area around 0.855 is where I'll actually look for a potential move towards the downside again if it does rally, but that's if. And my hard stop would definitely be above 0.86370 because it's a very obvious area. If we look on the 4-hour now, we can also see it does rally up. There's this temporary area of resistance slightly above there, but then there's a main area of resistance around 0.86. So right around this zone is where I'll be looking for other shorts, but that's if the stop loss gets hit. And if not, then we'll continue on to the downside. I'll follow up with you guys at the end of the week. Hopefully tomorrow, if everything can move firmly and slowly. I mean, firmly and quickly. If I do want to take a trade, I actually am looking for potential setups to get in before my sell stop is triggered, because I do have a confirmation to the downside already. I just have been looking for waves towards the upside, but this is a really good time, so I'm actually going to enter another trade right now. And only take this if you are super confirmed with your day trading status. But I'm getting better, and I like to take these trades if I see something on the charts, because it does something for me more emotionally rather than just seeing it, calling it, and then saying, hey, it worked or not. Taking this one down, same price, but this is a bonus for finding an entry signal ahead of the game. I said that was a 5-minute chart. I don't even want to explain how I got that entry. Just know that I'm able to read the 5-minute just like I'm able to read the 30-minute and beyond. So potentially that could hold up, but there's no guarantees. Like I said, I'm waiting for an actual break below those lows So I would recommend you guys do the same and don't take this type of trade that I did. But if you do have enough confluence, then you can do so. But that's it for right now, everyone. Hopefully you guys took a lot of insight from this video, and I'll follow up